Hello, and welcome to another episode of my Singularity Let's Play. This is Northstar. I hope you folks are well, taking care of each other, being kind to yourselves. For those new to my channel, welcome. For those returning, welcome back. New folks, sorry, I'm still getting settled to a new place and kind of recording in a, well, a table I just bought for the kitchen, since of course none of my roommates could even furnish the place, but whatever. So we'll find something very cheap. Going to be hopefully settled in for quite a long time where I am. Hopefully if SSI gets approved. If it doesn't, I'm screwed no matter what. Stable long COVID. I guess that's probably where I should start for new folks. Heck, just moving had gave me pretty bad post-exertion ways for the whole next day, and there's still some residual effects even now, so I'm less sharp than usual. I apologize, but enough about that for a second. Here we are with the mass extinctions exploration event. I always love this one because it's a reminder of how fragile life on Earth really is. You would think maybe it would get more people to be concerned about stuff like climate change. Unfortunately, an unwillingness to deal with cognitive dissonance, to deal with previous beliefs being incorrect and having to adjust one's worldview, that's a powerful force. And so people who don't want to take global warming seriously would just be like, oh, well, life is just going to go extinct anyways, or some other nonsense. There'll be any excuse. And this kind of crap is encouraged by the oil companies and the coal industry. I keep telling people the only solution in the long run is to stop extracting the coal and the oil. You drill the oil, you mine the coal, it's going to get used somewhere. That's just a bloody fact. And well, practically a law of economics, it'll get used eventually, and thus it will end up in the biosphere, and it will slowly destroy the planet and cause mass starvations that will kill billions. Yeah, billions with a B, because not just directly through famine, but when you get famines like sub-Saharan Africa and other areas where agriculture is extremely marginal, those people will migrate to other areas that are, well, more tropical at first, like down into the more tropical parts of Africa to the south of that, and north into, well, more Saharan countries like Algeria and Libya, which are already extremely fragile. I mean, Libya has practically anarchy, open-air slave markets and such because of the U.S. and NATO bombing campaign of the country, which, by the way, is the second time that the West has bombed Libya. I do suggest check out my Crisis in the Kremlin Let's Play series, and in it there's an event which is historically accurate where the U.S. bombs the country. Although there were only a few dozen people killed in that bombing campaign, unlike the much, much, much larger one that occurred later, although few dozen people killed, but a lot of property damage, which of course set back the development of a very poor country. And it was about causing the leadership to live in fear, which of course causes them to act in ways that are, a little more focused on our own safety instead of what's best for the country. So it hurts the country in more than one way when you do these bombing campaigns. Of course, the bombing campaigns are never about helping anyone except the oil companies. Because, well, I think it doesn't take much for most people to realize. I'll actually do an asterisk now. Bombing of Libya was all about oil. There's a lot of oil reserves under the country, and the U.S. system, the hegemony of the dollar, is dependent on controlling the oil supplies. It's not actually that the U.S. uses so much oil domestically, is that the U.S. economic system is based on forcing all the oil on the planet to trade in dollars, so that the dollar is the effective world currency, and because of that, the U.S. can engage in massive deficit spending. By the way, this system has not been around forever, like most things. And if you look back at its origin, it's Richard Nixon getting rid of the Bretton Woods global banking system. It's funny, I was actually just talking with someone trying to get someone who was actually a Trump supporter to see things more flexibly. You'd be surprised. You'd think these people are all closed-minded, but they have no love for the Federal Reserve, a lot of them. No love for the U.S. system of deficit spending. And when you can explain to them that the reason that the U.S. bombs all these countries, because a lot of them just want to be isolationists these days, that the reason the United States goes and bombs all these countries is because of the petrodollar and the ability to engage in unlimited deficit spending if the whole world has to use the dollar to get oil. And, the global economy requires oil. It's not like Europe can go without it or whatever. When you explain that connection, you see sometimes their eyes light up. Now, unfortunately, they'll probably still try and blame it on the Democrats, say, oh, the Republicans wanted to change this, whatever, but as long as they realize the systemic problems, there's some hope for them in terms of, supporting more useful, positive, egalitarian politics. And, vote blue no matter who is not the answer. For those who haven't watched my channel long, I am a Marxist. I have no love for the Democratic Party. Democratic Party, which is going all out to, for instance, stop, what was it, Zohani, whatever? I'm not sure I'm saying his name right, but the guy who won the primary for the mayor of New York City. Now, Democrats doing everything possible to stop him from winning, even though he was a Democratic nominee. This is very often the case. Or was it New York City? They actually have a... Shoot, I may have said something wrong. I have to go back and double check. I'm not sure if New York City actually has party nominees. I may be mixing up with Buffalo, where there was a Democrat, where they do have party nominees, and a socialist won the primary there. And so the Democrats did a writing campaign rather than, they always claim it's vote blue no matter who, and we must elect a Democrat no matter how shitty the politics, until that requires voting for a socialist. And then suddenly, we have to do write-ins. We don't care if the Republicans win. They're hypocrites. The only thing that the Democratic mainstream ever has supported is the interests of the rich. So, and that's a useful thing. You may think, saying this makes me weak in talking with, like, MAGA people. No, actually, when I can admit that the Democrats are shit, then it makes them more open to hearing about why the Republicans are also shit, and why we need to move beyond the two-party system, and even sneak in some Marxist talking points without them realizing they're Marxist talking points about exploitation, about the power of the billionaires. I'm a democratic socialist, so it's not like, I'll vote for like a PSL person if they put them up. The PSL is actually a Marxist-Leninist Maoist party that has run candidates in the United States, and they're basically Maoist, I should say. Their primary issue is actually Palestine. They're very focused on that lately, although it hasn't always been the case. But they're very much, economically Marxist, and so I'll vote for those people if they put up a candidate. But that's not my political home, if you will. In fact, like many democratic socialists don't really have one because the DSA are far too moderate, and many of them are just social democrats who call themselves socialists in the DSA. I'll also vote for their people where I can, but I'm under no illusions that they are the epitome. The US actually used to have a real socialist party, and then the FBI and the CIA worked to split up and ended up doing so into 3 different groups, 2 of which they crushed utterly, and the only surviving group being the Democratic Socialist America, which was led by one of their own assets, who went whole hog on supporting the Vietnam War. That was the reason they did this. So we have to split them up because they're socialists are being very steadfast about opposing the Vietnam War. I think most people can admit today the Vietnam War was wrong and should not have been done. And so the socialists are very much in the right about opposing it. But back then there were quite a few Americans who would not admit their wrongness about Vietnam, and they were perfectly willing to let the FBI claim we have a system where anybody can have any view, but the moment someone opposes Vietnam, oh no, we're going to literally sick our intelligence agencies and breaking up their political parties into itsy bitsy pieces that aren't effective. The DSA is just basically a caucus in the Democratic Party most of the time. And as I said, the other 2 splinter groups that formed from the Socialist Party soon ceased to exist as any political forces whatsoever. Maybe I'll do a Northstar Talks politics video and again that soon. I think I touched on it in one of my early videos, but what those 3 splinter groups were, it wouldn't hurt to review it for myself and for you guys. And the exact guy was acknowledged. I think it was FBI, it might have been CIA, although they both wanted to crush the Socialist Party. But, you know, deep state intelligence agency asset. Unfortunately, the MAGA idiots, they're wrong about many things, but the existence of the deep state they're correct about, except the deep state is not some left-wing establishment. No, it's like FBI people who are as far right as you can get. The deep state is on their side. That's the thing, that the Republicans will say things that are true instantly, but take the context completely wrong all the time. The deep state exists, and it's usually on the side of the Republican Party, although maybe not Trump. But that, I think, has more to do with the fact that he's a blundering idiot than anything else. And that pisses off some people like the FBI and CIA. Oh yeah, well, the MAGA people hate the CIA because the CIA has not exactly been enthusiastic about Trump's programs. That's actually funny, and was something that was a factor in this conversation with this MAGA person I was speaking to 2 days ago? 2 days ago. Yeah, that's not long at all. Yeah, nice guy, actually. But one of those people is like, knows how to do car mechanics and is very, I've done everything myself, and you know, fed up with the system, but also someone who doesn't want constant wars or a global empire. So not really the norm for the MAGA sorts. More pacifist and more economically left wing than most of the MAGA sorts. Might even be what you might call a MAGA communist, except definitely not someone who considers himself a Marxist, but quite left wing for a Republican. So more common ground than usual, I'll admit. Still, if you're willing to concede things that are true that they won't expect you to concede, those sort of people will usually then be willing to hear what you have to say that you won't budge on. Never budging on anything is a stupid tactic in trying to win people over to your side. You should admit where you're wrong, or where they think you were wrong, but you don't actually hold that view. Like, admit the things that they think you hold, views you hold that you don't actually hold. Be like, no, actually, I think this, you know, is stupid as well. You might not have realized it. And then they'll listen to you on things that, you know, they know you're not going to budge on. I don't know. Many of you are probably uninterested in that, but I just thought I'd throw that out there. Anyways, nice short little video here. I hope you all enjoyed it. Take care of each other. Be kind to yourselves. May you always find a guiding star to lead you home. Till next time, it's Northstar, and best luck. Join me next time for whatever ramblings crossed my long COVID brain.